Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth, and we're going to hit another topic this week that hits each and every one of you. Again, I know most of our audience are entrepreneurs or business owners, but we have a lot of people in the corporate world as well that listen and watch the show. And it doesn't matter what walk of life you're from. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, corporate, stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad. It doesn't matter. The topic we're going to cover this week with an absolute expert, of course, is how to build resilience. Everyone has this. And I've talked about this on the show a bunch of times over the years, but it doesn't matter how smart you are. Doesn't matter how strong you are. Doesn't matter who you know. Doesn't matter how rich you are. Life's gonna knock you down. You have to have resilience. I call it all the time consistent perseverance. You have to have consistent perseverance. And a big part of that, the large part of that, is building resistance. I'm sorry, not resistance, resilience. Geez Louise, got my R's wrong. So this week, we're talking with Renaye Thornborrow. She is leading a worldwide movement to bring life coaching to kids. Since 2013, her company has certified hundreds of coaches in over 30 countries, helping them create a business they love as a life coach for kids while empowering children around the world. Life coaching is a game changer for children as they learn how to build confidence, resilience, and mindset skills for life. And it is a game changer for coaches as they increase their impact and income while doing their work in the world serving kids. Renaye is a personal development expert, member of the International Coaches Federation, and a former three-year board member of the Association of Coach Training Organization, ACTO. She is a retired corporate marketing executive and the proud mother of 20-year-old twins. Oh boy, I bet you got a lot of good stories with that, Renaye. So Renaye, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. I know it's been a few months back since we kind of connected, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I remember correctly, when we were talking, you started to tell me about what you do, and I go, stop. I don't need to hear any more. Email me, we'll get you a link, and we got to get you on the show. We were just booked out a little bit far, but I'm excited to have you on the show to talk about this. You know, that being said, and with some of your bio, you know, tell us a little bit about your journey, your entrepreneurial journey that you've had.
Oh, I'd love to share that, Ken. I mean, the seed for me was planted many years ago, decades ago, when I first graduated from college. And Ken, I discovered the world of personal development. And I remember thinking to myself, why didn't I learn this when I was a kid? It made no sense to me that the personal development world and the life coaching world focuses on grown-ups when those core thoughts and beliefs that shape who we are and what we think is possible for our lives are formed when we're really young. And I knew that, if I ever had kids, wanted them to learn this. But over the years, I became an expert in personal development. I used the work to build a very successful corporate career, a happy, fulfilling marriage and relationships. And when I finally did have children, and they were about 4 or 5, and I started looking for something to help them learn how to develop mindset skills, because it's all about how we think, right? I couldn't find anything out there. There was plenty, Ken, on how to get my kids to behave, a few things on character development, nothing on mindset development. And I started working with my kids on my own, and sometimes it seemed a little lecture or boring, and I didn't want my kids rolling their eyes every time I opened my mouth. So what I did was I started writing stories. And that was really when the magic happened, because they loved the stories, but more important, they were learning these concepts. And from there, this vision just started to grow, that I wanted to bring this work to more kids, to families, and to parents. And at the time, I was vice president of marketing for a company here in Austin. Very successful career, loved my job, my team, what the company did, of course, making great income. But I kept having this pull to bring this type of work to the world. And I finally decided I'm going to make this happen, transitioned out, retired from the corporate world after about 25 years of all kinds of journeys, and created Adventures in Wisdom. And this was back in 2010. And I was fortunate enough to be able to take almost a year off to finish out the curriculum. And when I launched my business, it was a home study program for parents to use with their own children. But what happened is I had coaches, counselors, therapists, educators coming to me wanting to use my work in their own business. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. I knew they'd be able to reach children I would never be able to reach. And so we focused I created a certification program. We really focused on that. I'm just so honored that for the last 10 years, we've certified many hundreds of coaches in over 30 countries. They're using my story-based curriculum and whole program. And we've got business side of things, coaching side of things in their own businesses, and out there really transforming the lives of children and families. So that's been the journey. And there's been all kinds of ups and downs and testing and rebuilding and building resilience for sure. I think that being an entrepreneur is probably one of the biggest personal development journeys you can go on. That and being a parent.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have to ask you, Renaye. So I went through a similar type of situation in regards to my corporate career. Loved it and all that stuff. But had a pull, same sort of thing. Was there like one thing, or was it a culmination of events that you finally said, okay, this is it. I'm leaving the corporate world. I'm going to go do my own thing.
There was a very defining moment. And, like most people in January's, I like to kind of revisit my vision. And I realized I think it was in 2019, I had written down almost exactly what I had the year before. Because at the time, full-time corporate career, at the time, my kids, I think they were about 7, maybe, so all their activities plus, wife and household and all the things that we have in life. Right. And I was writing stories and doing things like on the weekend for a couple hours early in the morning before everybody got up, but I just wasn't making the progress. And in the meantime, my kids were getting older and I'm like, it's time. I get to go do this. And so I, of course, worked with my husband, put together a plan, transitioned out of the corporate job, and went part-time with them to kind of help transition. I didn't want to just drop them, and created the business. So it was kind of a defining moment. I really remember sitting there and, there were cuss words involved saying, what am I doing? What am I doing? And yet the irony of that, Ken, is that this is personal development work, right? It's our goals. It's what we achieve. It's our visualization. It's all of that. I wasn't living it. I wasn't living what I wanted to be teaching to my own children and in my own life. And so put my foot down and we made it happen.
Yeah. Lots of irony there with
Yes.
that situation. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. And I always, especially when people have that type of transition, I always like to ask that question because we have a lot of people who listen to the show and who watch the show who are in that, they're wantrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They're in that space. They're in the corporate and they're just like, I have things I want to do. I have a passion I want to pursue, but they haven't quite got there to take the leap. Mm-hmm. And it's a huge step. And especially, I was in a similar situation to you that I'd been in my corporate career for, 20 plus years. And at that point, if you've had some success in your career, monetarily things are pretty good and all that kind of stuff. So that's another thing that's difficult to step away from and go from here to zero and let's build this thing. So definitely makes it difficult.
It is. It's not just a matter of snap decision. And, for a lot of people who really are wanting to make a change, what can you do with what you have and where you are? What steps can you take? And for example, for our coaches, we're helping them become life coaches for kids. A lot of them are educators, that are wanting to either transition out of the classroom or maybe just generate some extra income. And most will start part-time. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to necessarily drop everything and go full-time. Start taking steps towards your dreams and your goals and be in action, because that's going to attract more to you.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. Hey guys, we're gonna hit a break. We'll come back with Renaye Thornborrow.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Are you ready to automate your business? Automation is the key to scaling a business and building wealth. It's also one of the most difficult things for a small business owner to do on their own. If you're looking for help with automation, Pulse Technology CRM can help. We have an exclusive offer for Mr. Biz Nation. We will build everything for free, even if it's a sophisticated funnel. Visit thepulsespot.com/Mr. Biz for this exclusive offer.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. And it's time, as always, for the Mr. Biz tip of the week this week. And this week, it is a quote from one of my absolute favorite people to follow on social media. She's amazing. Her husband's amazing. I'm actually, right before we started the show here, I'm part of his inner circle group, Jesse Itzler. The quote this week is from his wife, though, Sarah Blakely, who was, until, I don't follow the Kardashians, but whatever, one of the Kardashians Sarah was the youngest self-made female billionaire until one of the Kardashians, I don't know which one it was, got there before, a little bit younger than Sarah did. But the quote this week, and this is amazing, she has a great story behind this. I've heard her speak several times. And the quote is, "Go ahead, make mistakes. The worst thing that can happen is you become memorable." And if any of you follow Sarah on social media, you'll know she lives this and breathes it every single day. If you met her on the street, I'm very confident you would never know that she was as wealthy as she is and has had much success. She's just so down to earth. And, she shares these stories that, she's dropping her kids off at school. And here she is, this founder of Spanx, billionaire woman, and she's in line. She got to school, one particular story real quick. She gets to school and she does a video on her Instagram stories. And she says, "Guys, you won't believe this." And she shows herself. She has no makeup on. Her hair's a wreck. And she pans down. She has on pajamas and fuzzy slippers. And she said, "I got here to school. We're 2 minutes late." She shows the thing. It's 8:02. She said, "If I get here after 8, I have to walk him into school and sign him in." She said, "So I have to walk into school like this." So it's an example of how she shares these stories. And so that's what she says, don't be afraid to make mistakes, you become memorable. And she tells a story about how when she was a young kid and around the dinner table, her dad would ask her and her brother, "What did you fail at today? What were you not successful at?" And if they didn't have a story to tell, he would say, "You need to try some new things, right? You have to fail at some things to figure out A, what you're good at, B, what you're not good at, and to, oddly enough, tagging right in and segue, build resilience."
Resilience,
right?
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so it's perfect that we're talking with Renaye about this. So Renaye, so that's a Mr. Biz tip of the week this week. Quote from Sarah Blakely. Love her. Definitely suggest following her on social media. So when we get into the third segment, Renaye's going to give us some tips on how to build resilience. Not only, obviously she works a lot with children, but a lot of these things, work for us adults as well. But before we get into all that, I want to talk a little bit about what you do with Adventures in Wisdom. So you can find out more on Renaye's website, adventuresinwisdom.com. So let's talk a little bit specifically about your bounce back formula. Tell us what that is and sort of how that works.
Yes, well, our bounce back formula is about building resilience. So you want to cover that now?
Well, I don't want to give away a secret sauce just yet. Actually, you know what? Let's get into it because it's going to take a while to talk through, and we can
certainly do that, and then we could get into whatever we get into after that. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
let's do it.
I love what you were sharing about the making mistakes, because that's just one of those things that's so important for children to learn, is how to bounce back from mistakes and disappointments of life. Our curriculum, we teach 27 different mindset skills to children. And in what we call our Slaying Dragons segment, we cover managing mistakes, moving through fear, bouncing back from disappointment and failure. And so it's all part of the building resilience. We spend a lot of time on it and the mindset around it because it's that critical. And I think that resilience is one of the things that's really missing for a lot of children, because a lot of adults, quite frankly, don't have skills for bouncing back either. And it's really important to understand that we aren't what happens to us in our lives. But so with the bounce back formula, let's talk a little bit about it, about resilience. So I think the mistake that most people make, Ken, is they think that life is going to be this trajectory of straight up. That they start off in life, everything's going uphill on this climb to success, and it's a nice smooth line. But in reality, with success, it's more like this roller coaster. It's up and down, and sometimes it's backwards, and sometimes it's loopy, and sometimes you might even toss your cookies along the way. I mean, it is just not the straight line. And I think that just realizing that straight off the bat is really important. And it gets into the whole enjoying the journey. And with a roller coaster, we can be clenching onto the railings with white knuckling it, or we can have our hands up in the air yelling, woohoo, let's just go. And I will tell you, I think I spend half my time with one hand clenched and the other one going, okay, I'm supposed to woohoo. So
Yeah.
I won't say I've got this whole thing solved, but it's really important, Ken, to understand kind of the brain science behind resilience. And brain science is what we teach children too. We want them to understand why these mindset skills work, because then they'll have confidence that they work for themselves as well. So the first thing we need to do whenever something happens, and we have one of those moments in life, what happens is we leave the frontal lobes of our brain and we go into our amygdala. That's our fight or flight. And then we can't think clearly. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we might panic or curl up in a ball. And the first thing we need to do is we need to move ourselves back into the frontal lobes of our brain. So I call that reset. There's going to be 5 R's we're going to go through. So the first thing we need to do is reset the brain. And so we're going from the amygdala back into our frontal lobes so that we can think clearly. And one thing that everybody can do is they can put their hand on their heart and they take 5 really slow, deep breaths, because this is going to evoke the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps calm down the body and helps move us back into our frontal lobes. And sometimes, depending on how bad the moment was or whatever happened, it might take multiple rounds of that. And then there are other things that we can do too. For some people, phone a friend, journaling, going for an exercise, whatever it is that helps you kind of navigate and reset your brain. It's like, okay, this happened. We have to get back into our frontal lobes so that we can be ready to face the situation. So then the next R, what we need to do is reframe the situation, reframe what has happened. And reframing is all about how we think about something. At Adventures in Wisdom, we call it wearing our power goggles. So if you think about it, Ken, every event in life is neutral. We define what that event means based on how we think about it, as either a negative experience or as a positive experience. So for example, entrepreneurs who are listening and business owners, let's say you have a failed launch. And for some people, failed launch, the event is, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. I can't be successful in business. I'm going to close up shop. Say someone's just starting out. Or it's like, oh my God, this totally sucks. Go through all this stuff. This step 1. It's like, what can I learn from this? Where can I get help? Is there someone I can hire to do this for me? Or can I partner with somebody looking to start solving that problem? So you really want to reframe that. And with children, we call this putting on your power goggles. And we will actually have an exercise for them where we will give them different scenarios. And first they will experience the scenario. So for example, failing a test, they'll put on their victim goggles first, and they'll experience that from a victim standpoint. Failed a test. Oh God, I'm a failure. I'm never going to be, it brings down self-esteem. But then they put on their power goggles, it'd be like, oh, failed the test. Maybe I need to study harder next time. Maybe I can ask the teacher for extra credit. It helps them move forward feeling more empowered. And for us grown-ups, I'm always saying, put on your power goggles. I'm always telling myself, put on your power goggles too, because our thoughts shape our experiences. But as human beings, we get to shape our thoughts, and that really is the beauty of it. So I know we're about to go to break here in just a second. So the first thing we do, reset our brain, reframe, and then maybe we can cover the next 3 when we come back here in a minute. Any question about that part?
No, it's great. So I was feverishly taking down notes because I know we're going to hit a break here, and I wanted to make sure that I've got a couple, some things I want to relate to what you've already covered with the first 2 R's with the reset and reframe. I'm looking forward to hearing the other 3 though. So come back after the break. We're talking with Renaye Thornborrow on Mr. Biz Radio.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Business owners have a continually growing to-do list with little time for revenue-producing activities. With Check Off Your List and their experienced team of virtual assistants, you can focus on growing your business. Visit checkoffyourlist.com to learn how Check Off Your List skilled team can handle your day-to-day tasks like social media, bookkeeping, calendar maintenance, and much more. Contact Check Off Your List at checkoffyourlist.com or call 888-262-1249 to see how their virtual assistants can help you live to work rather than work to live.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're talking again this week with Mrs. Renaye Thornborrow. You can find out more on her website, adventuresinwisdom.com. It's adventuresinwisdom.com. And also, I should have mentioned this earlier, definitely follow her on social media, on Facebook, LinkedIn by her name, but on Facebook, and she has a YouTube channel. And both of those are Adventures in Wisdom as well. And then, of course, on LinkedIn with Renaye Thornborrow. So Renaye, gosh, even just the first 2 R's you covered, like, the resilience part, and this is going to be a little bit maybe grouchy old man comment here, but when you talked about, children not having that resilience, I feel like a lot of kids, and it seems to be getting worse, but that's my grouchy old man part, is that they get coddled so much. And so they're not able to, you try to, and I get it as a parent, you try to protect your kids, but I told my kids this. I said, I want you, while you're growing up, to skin your knees a lot. I don't want you to break your leg, but I want you to skin your knees. So that way you learn what it feels like to skin your knees, metaphorically, of course, and you learn how to deal with those things while I'm here to help you. So then when you're out on your own, when you skin your knee, you know how to deal with getting your knee skinned or failing a test or whatever it might be. And, this whole, again, grouchy old man, everyone gets a trophy thing. Like, oh my gosh, it just drives me bonkers. But, and everyone failing, you said the trajectory. I talk about my last book, I talk about Elon Musk. Everyone knows Elon Musk is, the wealthiest guy in the world, a little eccentric, a little crazy. A lot of people don't realize he was actually kicked out of 2, not 1, but 2 companies that he founded. He founded the company and then they were like, get out.
I didn't know that.
And right. No, because you only hear the success. You only hear like the Instagram version of the story, right? You don't hear, like you said, that roller coaster, the one hand gripping and the one hand woohooing, right? As you said, the resetting. I love what you said about the breaths. I developed something, I call it 777. If I feel anxious, if I feel nervous, if I feel angry, any emotion, I inhale for 7 seconds, very slow inhale for 7 seconds. I hold it for 7, and then I exhale very slowly for 7 seconds. And like you said, sometimes it takes multiple. Right. But if I do that, usually if I do that, I could be super angry. And if I do that, even just twice, it's just such a calming effect on any emotion. So I love that. And then the other thing you mentioned about the reframing of, you fail a test or you're having a bad day or whatever. I just heard a guy, Brad Lee, talk about this. And he said, I wake up and here's what he said, this is a game changer for me. And he said, it took me 20 years to realize this. He said, I wake up and he said, this sounds super cheesy. The first thing I tell myself is today is a great day. Not it's going to be. He said, it is a great day. Now, the question is, how great of a day is it going to be? Right? On a scale of 1 to 10, it might be a 3. It may end up being a 3, which is not necessarily great. It's not that great, but it's still great because I got up today. I got another day to do my thing, right? And so I think that is another version of the reframing that you're talking about is, just starting the day with today is a great day. I got another day on earth. This is a great day, Well,
it's setting our intention. And when we set our intention, it's the lenses through which we're seeing the world. It's our power goggles, right? We're seeing the world empowered in creating a great day. And that's what we're telling our brain. It's actually called the reticular activating system in our brain. We're telling our brain that this is what we want to create is a great day. And so we're going to look for reasons why we're going to have a great day. Yeah. And again, it's part of the brain science, which actually gets into that third step, which is remapping. It's remapping how you're going to get to where you're going whenever you've had that big disappointment. And the first thing we do is we need to re-examine our why. And let's say this is like a big disappointment, like a failed launch, you're new in business or something like that. And it's one of the reasons why vision boards are so powerful is because it gives us this front and center reason as to why we're going forward and making sure this is still something that's important to us. And if so, then we're remapping what are our steps going to be to get there? So we thought the path was going to be like this. Well, we had a loop in our roller coaster. Now we're going to remap. The path is going to look a little different, but we can still get there. It's just going to be a little bit different way to get there. So that was the next one that we do. And then we need to reprogram. That's the fourth R. We have to reprogram our brain and set ourselves up for success. That's all about building the connections in our brain called neural pathways, which will help us experience this success and create this success. And that's why visualization, affirmations, and positive self-talk are so critical, because that what we're doing is we are ingrained or are strengthening those neural pathways in our brain so that it becomes our normal way of thinking that this is what it's going to be. We need to expect it to work for us, expect success, expect the great thing, expect that great day, because that's how we're going to create it. And reprogramming our brain using those skills, those mindset skills, is the key. In fact, Ken, positive self-talk is something that runs across everything that we teach, from resilience to confidence, to self-esteem, to self-leadership. And it's actually a free coaching story we give away on our website. And I think that you were going to share a link to that too. So if anyone's interested in learning more about what is this all about, go get a story about how to build positive self-talk. Works for us grown-ups too, because that's going to help you on that fourth R, where you're reprogramming your brain to be out there and be successful. And then the fifth R is restart. And that means to get into action. And when something really bad happens, it's okay to have a pity party. Just make it short, make it little. It's important for us to feel our feelings, because what we resist does persist. So if we allow ourselves to feel those feelings, we allow that part of our brain that's afraid to be heard and to voice their opinion. And then we start working on shifting our thinking. So that reframing, we work on reprogramming and what our new map is going to be. Then we help calm that part of our brain down so that we can be in action moving forward, because the only way to move through fear is to be in action, is to go for it, and versus sitting there, licking our wounds. So those are the 5 R's for our bounce back formula for building that resilience.
Yeah. So reset, reframe, remap, reprogram, restart.
You got it.
I love it. I love it. And so that just proves you that I am taking copious amounts of notes here, Renaye.
Great. Good.
I'm selfishly, I learn from all the guests too. So a lot of times with guests, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to learn so much from this. So I love it. I think, it's the positive self-talk is so important, especially with kids, right?
Yeah.
Because I think, like you had mentioned earlier in the show, you learn those things when you're young. And if you start to have that, if your normal go-to is negative self-talk, I mean, you're just fighting an uphill battle every single day. And as you mentioned, you start to look for things that fit that paradigm. I talk about all the time with my kids are probably so sick of me saying the word paradigm. And, they're upset with one of their friends and they'll say, oh, well, she did this or she did. I'm like, well, that's because you're mad at her because of something she said 3 days ago. And so you're only looking for things that fit. I'm mad at her and she's a bad person, or he's a bad person, or whatever. Instead of, that happened 3 days ago. They apologize. It's done and over with. That's a rear view mirror. Let's look through the windshield and forget about the rear view mirror. And again, goes into maybe a little bit of remapping, but also the reprogramming, like you had mentioned, of starting to think about things in a different way. And that positive self-talk, I think, is a huge part of that.
It really is. It really is. It's the key, because like you were saying, the earlier children start learning and developing this habit, and we actually take them through exercises to start practicing this multiple times on a daily basis, because we want to build those neural pathways where they're so strong that positive self-talk is their default way of thinking. It's their habit. And that's going to support them in their self-esteem, in their confidence, in resilience, in going for their goals. It shapes everything in our lives. And I remember when I first discovered self-talk out of college, how many thoughts of fear and worry went through my head. I was shocked because I wasn't even aware of it. And now what we're doing is we're shining the light and say, not only are we shining a light, here's your path to go be empowered.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love the 5 R's. I like having a list that I can follow, right? Steps. And I love it. So again, we're talking this week with Renaye Thornborrow. You can find out more at her website, adventuresinwisdom.com, adventuresinwisdom.com. Again, follow her on Adventures in Wisdom on Facebook and YouTube, as well as follow Renaye on LinkedIn. Renaye, thank you so much for coming on the show. Absolutely loved having you. Great insight.
Thanks for having me, Ken. Everybody bounce back.
That's right. That's right. Use that bounce back formula, the 5 R's.
Woohoo! On the roller coaster.
That's right. Both hands off.
Yes.
Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, depending on how you're consuming our content. Have a great week as always. And don't forget, cash flow is king.
become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.